So with Verifit 2, you have to calibrate both sides of the coupler mic, and so with that, we want to place both the reference mics within 3 millimeters of the center of each of the sides. So now that we're done placing our reference mics in place, we're going to want to head over to the Verifit, right click and press the test box calibration. And once we're there, we can hit the chain in the middle where it says left and right, and when we press calibrate, it'll calibrate both sides for us. And now we head to our probe mic calibration. So as you can see here, I'm placing a brand new probe tube onto the probe mic right over that reference mic and heading to the on-ear calibration screen onto the Verifit. I place it within 10 to 20 centimeters of that REM speaker and hit calibrate on both left and right sides. Now move on to measuring our coupler RECD. So we plug our coupler into the coupler mic as we just saw, and then we plug our wire into the coupler and then our probe mic. We then head over to our WRECD screen on our Verifit where we measure 4cc coupler, and when the curve stabilizes, we press that green check mark and can move on. Now we head on to our WRECD where it's important to follow all the steps. Prior to placing the probe tube in the ear, we want to complete otoscopy to ensure that ear canal is nice and ready for that probe tube insertion. We also need to make sure the dock, or probe dock rather, is placed on the patient's shirt and that the lanyard is nice and snug around the ear with the reference mic facing outwards. Once we're done that, we can go ahead and use the bow and arrow method to insert the probe tube. After, we can use the probe guide to ensure that there was proper probe tube insertion, and we are looking for that green check mark which we see here. We can also make sure that the black ring on the probe tube is sitting at the intertragal notch, which will confirm. Once we're done, we do otoscopy once more to verify once again that it is in that anterior recess within that 5 millimeters from the eardrum. And after we complete that, now we can finally squish up that insert and put it into the patient's ear, where you can hold it for a second if you'd like, as I do here, just while it expands. We then head over to the Verifit screen once again, where we can right click and head to the WRECD tab and then hit measure real ear, followed by pressing the check mark, and then we wait for that curve to stabilize before pressing that green check mark once again. Reaching the final step of the process here, we are headed into the speech mapping screen where we want to complete our audiometry. We want to set our targets to any fitting rationale you'd like, select the age of the user, as well as the transducer used, and the coupling method. After pressing that green check mark once again, it'll bring us here where we can enter all of our patient's hearing loss information. And now that we've completed that, we're on to our last step. We hit that green check mark once again, and it will display all of that information on the speech mapping screen for us.